Hey y'all! Well, in this video we're going to finish up this Tascam 22-2 tape deck, and we gotta run it with the tape going through it with the front cover off. We need to adjust the deck heights on the reels, which means we're trying to center the tape up in between the two flanges on the reels so that it doesn't drag or do anything weird. And if it's not working right, then the tape gets like twisted going through the tape path across the heads, and that's no good. So we want to make sure that's dialed in and that all the other functions are working well, and lubricate up all the linkages and pivot points and stuff. So let's get in here and finish this thing up. Okay, so we got the tape on it, and we put all of our little rollers back in, and we clean the tape path up with Q-tips and some alcohol. Make sure everything's nice and clean. We put a little, just a breath of oil on the bushings inside these rollers to make sure they roll nice and easy. We clean the grease up on this little cam here that works up against that micro switch, and put some fresh, really lightweight grease on there. And then we lubricated with a little bit of lightweight oil on the pivots on these two tension arms where they, they do this thing when they pivot on both sides. We did this one over here too. And it's got this little string that goes up and around. Make sure that string is there that hooks up to this spring on the other side so that we get the right tension on the tape. So let's power this thing up and see if everything works. First thing we're going to try is play, which is this button here. And there we go. And there's 15 IPS. And there's 7.5 IPS. So that works good. Let's try our fast forward. And one of the things you're going to want to check on the deck is make sure that the tape is centered between the two guides on each side of the reel. And there's an adjustment up here you can get to between the top plate and the reel. You'll see a couple of Allen screws in there, and you can get to it with just a regular Allen wrench like this. And you can adjust the height of the reel to line it up with these guides to make sure that the tape is centered and everything runs smooth. So we're going to do our fast forward. It's ripping along. You can see our counter's ripping along. And so that's working good. And then when we stop, the brake stops it so it doesn't wad up the tape. We want to make sure it does the same thing in reverse. And the rewind's working well. And when we stop it, same thing. The brake stops the reels. And we go forward. That's working. So I'm happy with the way everything's operating. I'm going to put the front cover back on it. Now, one of the things, you could replace this drive belt without taking the sides or the back off, but I don't recommend it, because when those tapes get all gooey and break up in little pieces, you're going to find little pieces of that broken tape all throughout the back of the machine. And if you don't clean all that out, one of those little pieces of gummy tape is going to get stuck somewhere where you don't want it to be, and it's going to cause problems. Plus, it's a good idea to blow all the dust out of a machine like this that's been sitting up. And so I highly recommend pulling all the covers off of it when you service one of these up. So last thing I want to check is do the rewind, have the tape come off the end of this reel, and make sure the machine shuts off. Just like that. And you see how fast that stops? That's just the way it's supposed to work. So, yeah, this is all looking good. So, let's get ready to install the front cover. And we'll take these reels off. Because we've done our testing with some tape. And like I said, it's really important that you align these reel tables to the guides so that everything's nice and straight and that the tape's centered in the reel when it's rewinding and fast forwarding. And it's a lot easier to do with the deck standing up on its bottom, vertically, to make those adjustments. But I'm doing it like this so we can record it. So we're going to turn power off. To put the cover on, we're going to have to remove these guide rollers. And again, you can see that little washer there. You do not want to lose those. Now this deck was actually missing one of these washers. And so this roller's got a little bit of in-play in it. I'm going to have to go over to the repair shop down the street from me and see if they've got any of these washers. And if not, I saw some on eBay for guys selling them for like $10. And so I'll have to get a pair of those, or I just need one. But anyway, such is life buying used stuff like this. So pull that off. And there's a little washer there. And there's one underneath. Now, if the little tire, you need to really look at it good. And this tire looks like it's in really good shape. But if it's got a big dent in it, or you see it, it's all cracked up and looks like it's falling apart, you can either replace just the tire, or you can buy a whole new pinch roller. And obviously the tire's a lot cheaper, but it's a little extra labor to install it. Again, there's a little washer there. And on this, it's got little Teflon washers. And there's the other one there. Just be careful that you don't lose those. Now, the other thing you want to do is look at your little window here and see if it's got any goop on the inside. Because while you got it off now, it's a good time to clean that up. And this one's fairly clean. The inside's clean. And then it does have like some foam here that looks like it's kind of disintegrating, but I'm just not going to get too worried about that. So let's go ahead and put this front cover back on. And do have to kind of pull these wires up like that to get it to go over like that. And as you can see, we got our counter right where it was, lined up perfect. So that worked out well. So I'm going to go ahead and put these long screws in first. These really are a nice looking machine, I think. I know some people like those Techniques. Those are really nice looking machines too, but these commercial Tascams just really have a really rugged look to them that I think looks nice. And I really think this 2-track deck is going to really sound nice too. I'm just hoping that somebody hasn't been screwing around with the levels and the EQ, and the electronics and everything are all in good shape. Because that's the problem with my Tascam 32 I have, is somebody screwed around with it at some point, and the EQ and everything's just all out of whack. and it does not sound good. And like I said in the other video, that was one of the reasons that I purchased this, is they have the ability to record some music on a 2-track tape, so then I can listen to it on my Tascam 32. Okay, I'm going to put that little washer on first. And as you can see, we didn't have to take this roller off to take the front cover off. You just have to take the pinch roller and the guide rollers off to get the front cover off. And when you tighten that down, make sure the roller spins freely where you haven't pinched one of those washers in a place that it shouldn't be. So here's our pinch roller, and then we have our 2 guide rollers, and I'm going to put the washer over on the supply side for now. I feel like that's more important than on the take-up side. You want to make sure the tape's going through the tape path straight. Where on the other side, it's just going onto the take-up reel. And if the guide's a little sloppy, it's not the end of the world. But like I said, I'll get a new one of those ordered. And this deck really is fairly easy to disassemble. And being a commercial deck, I'm sure they designed it to be serviced. And then we got our 3 screws that go into the bottom here. And these go in here like this. And the side and the back cover are pretty self-explanatory. I'm not going to get into video and how to take those off. I think y'all could figure that out. And I don't know, something's a little off with the meters there. Let me... Not sure exactly why. That's not really sitting down flush. Yeah, I don't know what's going on with that. Let me pull the front cover back off and look at this again. I'll be right back. Okay, what was going on, this lip here across the bottom had gotten pushed in a little bit, and I just was able to push it from the back, and it's a little snap, and then it snapped back in place. So, no big deal. But I'm glad I saw that before I got it all put back together, and was able to get that straightened out again. And yeah, that all looks great now. Okay, so, and now it sits down flush, and the it's a little, there's something still not quite right over here with these jacks. There we go. Just says it's going to push it over while I was pushing it down. And now those jacks are where they're supposed to be. And you can tell if you got it on right or not because these bottom screw holes won't line up. And there is like a little lip here on these jacks that you have to get in the right place so it'll sit down flush. Here we go. Now it's down there like it's supposed to be. And if this little plastic window, clear plastic, is a little cloudy, you can get some car cleaner wax. And that works really good at cleaning up that kind of clear plastic and making it look nice again. Oh yeah. Now tightening that down feels normal. It felt a little funky, that screw, and it was because these jacks weren't centered in those holes. And that's why we make these videos, so I can make these mistakes so you don't have to. And then, here we go. I was going to say, don't tell me I lost one of the screws playing around with this. There it is. Get this last panel screw in the front. And if I remember right, there was a little screw. There we go. So you got these screws here, you got 3 across the bottom, and then you got this guy here, and then you have to take this one out too. And then you have to pull the 2 outer guides off and the pinch roller. And then the rest of it you don't have to mess with. And then, like I said off camera, I'm going to reinstall the side, the back, after I blow out the insides and make sure that's all nice and clean. Well, actually I did that earlier, but... And again, make sure you try to hunt down all of that gooey tape. You do not want to leave any of that. And make sure all your little rollers are spinning free. That one doesn't spin, that's just a guide. And then the last thing is, see, there's a piece that, that nasty belt just gets everywhere. Get a little alcohol, clean out the inside of that, and then we can put the tape head cover back on. And this thing just slips over those 2 guide pins and pushes down into place. And there we go. We've got our rebuilt... Oh, we got to put our knobs back on. Almost forgot that. And one of the knobs disappeared, but I'll find it here in a little bit and get that back on. That's no big deal. Well, anyway, I'm ready to go hook this thing up to my system and go see how this thing works and what it sounds like. So, hope you found this informative, and I will do a follow-up video, I'm sure, talking about how this thing sounds once I get it done. And looks like a good place to wrap up this video. Well, got this deck all put back together, ran it on my system upstairs, and recorded on a couple different kinds of tapes, and man, it really sounds good, especially playing at 15 IPS. It does pick up like the whole sound stage, and the whole kind of live sound comes through on the recordings. And again, I'm recording it off of my nice turntable setup, and so it's basically kind of mimicking that, but it gives it a little bit of that tape compression sound, and especially like with horns and some of that kind of fatiguing kind of elements of certain songs, the tape kind of smooths that out and takes the rough edges off of it, and it's got a really nice sound to it. I can see why people recorded on tape back in the day. And so I do need to work on my Tascam 32. I have test tapes now, or at least music tapes that I can run on it to see what's going on with it, because I didn't have anything except 4-track tapes before, and now that I've got some 2-track stereo tapes that are the same format that it uses, I think I can really get some work done on it and get it up and going. But yeah, this is a really nice sounding deck. I do want to go back through it when I get my frequency test tapes and make sure that the EQ at 7.5 and 15 are both working right, because if one of those is off, it will make you think that one of those speeds is a lot better than the other. So I'm not going to discount that 7.5 IPS could sound really good on this deck, and it should. And I'm wondering if the EQ on that speed, because there's 2 different EQs in the deck. There's a 7.5 and a 15. Each speed has its own kind of circuit and EQ in the board. And so need to get all that dialed in and everything. But for now, really happy with the way it sounds. And yeah, this is a really neat deck, especially for what I paid for it. I mean, I feel like I got a really good deal on this thing. So, and it was fun fixing it. And I hope you enjoyed it too. And if you did, please subscribe to the channel. Please like the video. Thanks to all you Patreon supporters, people that have joined the channel, and otherwise support me with donations or whatever, even just a subscription. So please subscribe if you haven't. And until the next video, have a nice day.